Sometimes you may find yourself feeling that, despite the great need for things like safe streets, universal housing affordability, equitable options for mobility, or a better social safety net, maybe your town just isn't the place where those things can happen. Maybe it's not your town, but your state or province. Maybe it's just your country or the whole continent. After working in community organizing and public service for the last 10 years, I can also sometimes feel discouraged about the way that Seattle or the United States or North America does things. But I just can't subscribe to the notion that we can't make these places better for everyone who calls them home. I believe that a collective voice and collective action results in a collective victory.
So by the end of this video, I hope you can walk away with two things. The first is an affirmation that your advocacy, no matter how big or how small, makes a difference. And the second is a simple formula that you can refer to as you're advancing your cause.
I understand how it can sometimes feel like you just keep hitting brick walls, especially when advocating for social good on the local level. I've been there. But that feeling isn't reflective of whether or not advocacy works. And personally, whenever I feel like maybe fighting for something like universal affordability or equitable mobility is too daunting, I remind myself of two quotes that together illustrate exactly how we can make a positive change. You can't live on hope alone, but without hope, the us's of the world give up. And power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. These ideas are at the core of an advocacy strategy that I've seen make big and small changes, from the block level to the city level. It's an approach that I've used over the last 10 years, and it's one that I've seen many other folks use to win big things to improve people's lives. So, what's this formula? Well, it can be distilled into 3 interconnecting and necessary parts, each as important as the others. Let's call it Hope Action Organizing. You gotta build your base. That means coalition building with other affected people, with other folks who see the need for change, and with as many folks as possible who can make change from within your local government, including elected officials and their staff, and department leaders or their staff. Through collaboration, you can develop both a broad, outward-facing strategy and a strategy for advocating to local government. One doesn't work without the other, and successful advocates incorporate both into the other 2 parts of this formula. Never rely on anyone who will try to alienate you or your cause, who will make unilateral decisions on behalf of your coalition, or who will build themselves up as your only hope to make change. They're selling you snake oil, and that's going to make your fight longer and harder. Perhaps the simplest part of this formula is demonstration. Point to the thing that needs changing and build a case for why. Uplift folks in your coalition that love to do research. This is where they can utilize their superpower. And if you're able to build coalition with an elected leader or people working in a city department, ask them to help gather evidence and to demonstrate that need to their peers as well. You can and will find allies, especially on the staff level, who believe in your cause. Demonstration will help you continue to grow your coalition, and it gives a big leg up in the next part of this formula. Start with simple things. Send emails, make phone calls to city departments on specific projects or for specific needs. Do the same thing for your local city council when they're working on legislation or budgets related to your cause. Attend workshops, attend council meetings, give public comment, work with the press. Get local elected leaders to raise the issue, protest, be visible, be heard. And co-create with local elected leaders or city departments to craft legislation, change administrative policies, or appropriate funding related to your cause. Using this method, coalitions can keep momentum throughout the year and advance causes one win after another. Let me give you a couple of examples. In 2021, tenants in Seattle won the largest expansion of eviction protection in a generation by closing a gap in city code that exempted renters on month-to-month leases from just cause eviction protections, meaning their landlords could evict them for no reason at all. 30 plus groups and organizations representing an array of backgrounds, from tenant advocates to advocates for people living unhoused, to affordable housing developers, transit advocates, and preschool providers, built a coalition to close this gap in the law. They teamed up with the council member representing Southeast Seattle to pass this legislation into law in under 6 months. This group was also strategic, utilizing everyone's individual strengths for a collective goal. Organizers led actions, people familiar with policy took the lead on co-creating policy, folks with experience working with elected representatives met with and won over council members. Through Hope Action organizing, they won eviction protection for tens of thousands of people in an incredibly rapid amount of time. After winning in Seattle, they brought this strategy and this policy to other cities around the region, winning again and again. I briefly touched on how Seattle won a winter eviction ban in a previous video, but wanted to expand upon that a little bit here. In spring 2019, while I was co-chair of the Seattle Renters Commission, we started researching eviction protections in other US cities, in Canada, and in France. We ended up recommending and advocating for 2 tenant protections to City Council, one of which was a winter eviction ban. Since shortly after World War II, France has had an eviction protection on the books called a trêve hivernale, or a winter truce, which keeps landlords from evicting tenants during winter. Facing overlapping crises of rising homelessness and affordability in Seattle, we saw a winter eviction ban as a way to keep people housed during winter, and as a way for them hopefully to stay housed long enough to pay back rent or cure a lease violation or whatever was needed for them to stay in their home long term. Well, obviously the landlord lobby fought hard against this idea. They even wrote multiple articles in Forbes about how it would fail or be the end of the world. To which I say, pick your flavor, landlords. But I digress. We had our fair share of naysayers leading their argument with doom, while we continued to lead with hope. By fall, we had the council member for Central Seattle on board, and we were building coalition with tenants, affordable housing providers, people living unhoused, students, and many other people. We rallied, we demonstrated, we co-created policy, and we even presented our findings in front of City Council. And in February 2020, we passed the second winter eviction ban in the world, the first since the 1940s, and the first in the United States. Just a month after passage, we used this new law as our basis for the eviction moratorium that was in place during the COVID emergency. And in 2023, we will have our 4th winter on the books where eviction is banned during winter for most tenants. This is people power, and this is the power of Hope Action organizing in motion. Big business, real estate, landlords, the auto industry, and big oil have lobbyists. A lot of, if not all of these groups fund their own campaigns, called AstroTurf campaigns, that approximate movements. This is how we've gotten to where we are now. But the antidote to lobbying and to AstroTurf is people power. They feel like they can dictate to the city to do things that meet their needs. So why shouldn't people who are fighting for social good feel empowered to do the same thing? This means that you have to keep building your movement, keep disrupting, keep building your case. On my channel, you'll see me point to other cities who are, quote, doing it better, but not because where you live sucks or because you need to give up. I want you to be inspired. If Nantes can build a platform for equitable mobility or design solidarity neighborhoods, so can a lot of places. If Paris can hit a 25% share of social housing over the course of 20 years, Seattle sure as hell can make that mark one day too. If Seattle can pass a winter eviction ban or give everyone just cause protections, so can your hometown. I firmly believe advocacy works. I know because I've seen it happen. Keep pushing, and you'll see it happen too.
Without hope, the us's of the world give up, and power concedes nothing without a demand. So make your demand collectively and keep building hope.